Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative Headline News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, Canadian travel blogger Christopher Hughes, known online as Chris Must List. Yeah, I looked at a lot of videos. Bro, real brave, but even went Haiti, by a place like Haiti. But anyhow, will be allowed to return to Trinidad and Tobago to face his pending sedition trial, despite being deported from the country in 2024 under the mighty morphin Ghanaian coal pot bicycle, no harm, no macaroni pie, PNM. You deport the man. But you want him to face trial and face the courts. I don't understand the PNM, I will never understand them. Homeland Security Minister Roger Alexander said yesterday he would issue a minister's permit allowing Hughes to re-enter the country ahead of his trial, which is scheduled to begin on July 22nd. Now, as much as I do not support Roger Alexander at all. I do not support most of what the UNC is doing right now, right? Except for like infrastructure and stuff like that. But when it pertains to SOE and thing, this at least is something that is good what he's doing here. But I'm not commending him either, because I think that he should have done a whole lot more to end this whole controversy, because what the PNM did was wrong. And I will give my commentary just now about it. Speaking with the Express, Alexander questioned how the situation was allowed to arise in the first place. Someone fell asleep on the job. Why has it reached a stage where a man who was charged in TNT but was deported must now make efforts to be allowed back in, he stated. But as you think about it, because that's what Chris Butler said. He said, they want me to come back in the country for the trial, but yet I will be denied access because I was deported. So what do they really want me to do? The minister suggested the matter resulted from an administrative oversight. What administrative? It's just total tata. Just total tata. You're talking about the PNM and the UNC behaving just like the PNM right now. The UNC going to face a lot of consequences for their actions with these PDOs and stuff like that in the future. Hughes was arrested during a visit to Trinidad and Tobago in 2024 after authorities accused him of publishing videos that allegedly contained seditious statements. But the statements were not made by him, smarties. Listen, even the media, all members of the media interview, right, anonymously, interview criminals who make all sorts of seditious statements. Do you go and arrest the journalist for that as well? The man was just covering statements that were covering what takes place, highlighting what takes place in these crime-ridden, gang-cultured areas. He never endorsed anything that those individuals said in those videos. Matter of fact, plenty of the times, almost like a disclaimer at the ending of his videos, he used to say, I am not in support of anything that is stated by these individuals. You all want to come now and twist the man's words and say that he committed sedition. That's utter nonsense, total utter nonsense. He was subsequently deported and designated an undesirable inhabitant under the Immigration Act, effectively barring him from re-entering the country while criminal proceedings against him remained active. You know why they deported him? Because the PNM didn't like how he was exposing how corrupt the TTBS is and how corrupt the country is. Unusual circumstances came into focus during a recent virtual court appearance where Hughes argued that he had been placed in an impossible situation. He said my trial date is on July the 22nd. It is mandatory that I appear in court, I guess, in person, but I'm banned for life and not allowed to appear in court. It is two different court systems fighting against each other, he said, both in Trinidad, and I'm the victim to this. He explained to his audience in a video blog gone viral. Most of his videos go viral, anyhow you take it, but this one would have gone much larger, a much larger population in the whole world. According to Hughes, prosecutors had repeatedly written to the ministry responsible for national security, seeking temporary permission for him to return for his trial, but had received no response. And as you think about it, I think they should revoke that ban that they have on him, man, because UNC is supposed to know that it was all politics under the PNM. But as I tell you, the UNC is now PNM. The UNC is now PNM. My response, this guy never committed any crime. He simply highlighted all the areas in TNT which are plagued with gangs. That's all he did. He never once endorsed that type of lifestyle or incited any form of violence against the PNM government, or TTPS, and yet they still charged him with sedition. The man never endorsed any statements made in his videos. He was simply highlighting how people feel in those areas. A matter of fact, people, a matter of fact, right now, there's a little, like a short series on CNC3 where they're highlighting people from a lot of those crime-ridden areas, and they are interviewing them. And a lot of statements being made are considered quite controversial. CNC3 is not endorsing it. The journalists are not endorsing it. They're just highlighting it. Smarties. God, boy. Telling you the TTPS, boy. I went on to say, I hope the we're in charge UNC fanatics realize the TTPS monster which this government is feeding, will also be used by the PNM in the future to arrest and imprison their critics and opponents. Now, people will say this statement is being irrelevant to this report with Christmas list, but no, it isn't. Because they're laughing at the man now. They're laughing at the man, how he could end up facing time in prison for sedition. Just like how other individuals in Trinidad and Tobago are being arrested right now. Citizens of Trinidad and Tobago are being arrested for so-called sedition just for making certain statements without actually taking any sort of action to make those thoughts that they have in their minds and spoken into reality. No one thus far has made any sort of plans to plot to take any actions, violent actions against the government. It was just statements that were made. Controversial statements that I would never make, but nevertheless, statements. I went on to say, enjoy locking up your enemies for the next 4 years, because after that, it will be your turn to sit in prison for simply voicing your opinion or frustration in public, or even during private conversations at home, which appear to be either leaked or accessed by the authorities without permission. Because it appears to be that's what is happening, people. It appears to be, like even in the case with the Hadids, even if there is some type of intelligence, maybe these individuals were having discussions amongst their friends and families about things that they don't like what the government is doing, and certain comments may have been made, but there's no evidence to show that they were plotting to carry out any sort of attack against the government or the TTPS. It was just statements. It was just statements like what Christopher Samaru said. It was just a statement he made. He never said he was planning to do it. And that is the difference. And that's what Gary Griffith tried to warn against. He said a lot of people make threats and make a lot of statements. But if you have evidence to prove that they were going to take those statements and put it into action. And that is the danger about it. So a lot of people are laughing at Christmas lists right now. And a lot of these hypocrites were in support of Christmas lists before UNC won, but because the UNC is not sympathizing with this man, and because UNC hasn't given back this man the permission to enter Trinidad permanently as a visitor, right? Remove that ban. They're laughing at the man instead, and that's why I use the opportunity to raise the general issue of how UNC supporters are now supporting the violation of our constitutional rights here in Trinidad and Tobago. And the rights like this man to be able to enter the country legally, to be able to stand before the courts, to be able to prove himself innocent, right? Or for them to prove him guilty, but he's innocent because you're innocent until proven guilty. But he might very well might end up having to be opposite, where he might have to end up proving himself to be innocent.
Weather report for Wednesday, July 1, 2026, Trinidad and Tobago. Wednesday, July 1, 2026 will bring fair to partly cloudy, hazy and breezy conditions across Trinidad and Tobago, accompanied by scattered, isolated light showers. High temperatures will reach 31 degrees Celsius to 32 degrees Celsius, but it will feel as hot as 34 degrees Celsius due to the high humidity. A significant update from the Trinidad and Tobago Meteorological Service highlights a moderate to high concentration of Saharan dust entering the atmosphere. Sensitive individuals should take necessary health precautions. Key weather parameters. Temperature range, maximum daytime high of 31 degrees Celsius to 32 degrees Celsius with an overnight low dropping to 24 degrees Celsius to 26 degrees Celsius. Heat index expected to peak at 34 degrees Celsius, making the air feel significantly hotter than the actual temperature reading. Wind, easterly to southeasterly winds blowing between 0.5 to 40 km per hour. Winds may become gusty near any isolated showers. Marine conditions, moderate seas in open waters with wave heights from 1.5 meters to 2.0 meters. Sheltered areas will experience waves between 1.0 meters to 1.5 meters, though occasionally choppy. Note that spring tides are currently in effect. Sun schedule: sunrise is at 5:43 a.m. and sunset will be at 6:29 p.m.
Regional news now. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is stepping up efforts to improve mental health care with plans to expand services, promote early intervention and upgrade conditions at mental health facilities. Speaking at a recent news conference, Health Minister Nathaniel said mental illness is a treatable medical condition and reaffirmed the government's commitment to making mental health a national priority. Yeah, even here in Trinidad and Tobago, I believe a lot of those homeless individuals, if treated properly, could end up living close to normal lives, if not normal. The minister announced that the Ministry of Health will introduce a school program to identify children at risk of developing mental health challenges, allowing for early intervention and support. And that is what is so important, early intervention, so that they can basically, once again, have normal lives. Cummings also outlined plans to decentralize mental health care by expanding community-based services and improving rehabilitation, reducing reliance on the Mental Health Rehabilitation Center at Glen as a long-term care facility. The health minister said improvements are already underway at the Glen facility following visits by his team. He acknowledged the poor condition of the center and said corrective measures have begun to create a better environment for patients and staff. I wonder what's the environment like in our St. Anne, St. Trinidad, boy.
In other words, we believe in dealing with the problem at source. Just as we have given serious priority to primary health care, in other words, dealing with the issues before they reach to the stage where we're only keeping people alive by mechanisms. We want to do the same with mental health illness, to identify potentials and look at treatment regimes. To do this, therefore, we have to work in conjunction with the ministries of education. We have to do the necessary work with the legal affairs department and our own team. We are taking mental health treatment throughout the country. Every community center, district hospital and clinic, so every community clinic, district hospital will have the staff, medical staff, including the nurses, trained to identify and treat people with mental health illness. Our new hospital will have a wing for acute care for mental health patients who need to be hospitalized and treated. I want to tell you that this is not something that just happened overnight. The staff in my ministry have been proposing this for quite some time. And I want to tell you that when I met with them and I threw out my own vision for how I see this, they were surprised at how that vision dovetailed exactly with theirs. There have been a few incidents, my friends, where members of the judiciary have demonstrated a certain lack of understanding of mental health issues. I have been in dialogue with our Attorney General and intend to continue this discussion with key members of judiciary with a view to introducing dialogue, and training. Training in both directions. That is to say, for members of the team at Mental Health to have some understanding of how the law works as it relates to mental health patients. And very importantly, for members of the legal profession to have a better understanding of the issues associated with mental health illness. I am convinced from where I sit that there is a clear lack of understanding on both sides.
International news now. President Donald Trump has ordered gas stations across the United States to lower their prices right away. Here, he posted on social media that gas should cost around $2.50 US per gallon because the price of crude oil has dropped to about $68 a barrel. We in Trinidad will be kind of sad about that, though, but the money going back down, boy. The president warned that the government will look for illegal price gouging, which means charging people too much money on purpose. So you see, capitalism isn't really where people can just take advantage of things either, you know. My dear socialist people, capitalism has its limit to an extent. He also complained about the state of California, where high taxes make gas cost over $5 a gallon. Wow! $5, you know. Government officials added that big oil companies are making record profits and need to help the American public by lowering costs. Gas prices usually take some time to go down, even when oil gets cheaper. This is because gas stations have to sell the fuel they already bought at higher prices first. Well, of course. Otherwise, they'll make a loss. Also, making gas during the summer months costs more money, and many people are traveling for the holidays, which keeps the demand high. Government leaders are paying close attention to these costs because they want to help families save money before the upcoming election, because that could Americans and people in general, but Americans kind of think quite in a basic way. You know? They don't care about gas. They don't care about the radical leftist agenda that much. They care about it, you know. But if they realize that the Republicans are not really helping them to lower the cost of living, they might go back and vote for the radical leftists, and who will end up making the cost of living even higher. And I don't understand. It's the same foolish mistake the British made a couple years ago when they voted for the radical leftist party right now. And now they are suffering the consequences. That party is transforming their country into a jihadist state. Americans don't make that mistake. I don't like a lot what Trump is doing, how he's basically throwing Israel under the bus, betraying them, and declaring himself the Messiah of the world. I don't like those things. But the Republicans will always be the better choice than the Democrats. A team of Israeli doctors has returned from Rwanda after completing a week-long humanitarian medical mission that saved the lives of 21 children suffering from complex heart conditions and marked a milestone for the country's healthcare system, Israel helping others. The same Israel that people accused of committing genocide. My Lord. The mission led by the Israeli non-profit Save a Child's Heart took place at King Faisal Hospital in Kigali, where specialists performed life-saving cardiac procedures on children with severe congenital heart defects. Beyond providing urgent medical care, the mission also celebrated the return of Dr. Gerard Mesago, who became Rwanda's first pediatric interventional cardiologist after completing 3 years of specialized training in Israel through SACH's physician training program. Once again, Israel that they're always demonizing in the media. We're very happy that we managed to treat as many kids as we did this week. Dr. Sivan El-Karat, a pediatric electrophysiologist with Save a Child's Heart, said, "It's been a short week, but very long days, and we are very pleased with the outcome." I mean, from what I heard, those things take hours upon hours. Since its founding, Save a Child's Heart has trained more than 170 medical professionals from developing countries with the goal of enabling local doctors to independently perform advanced pediatric cardiac procedures. For us, this is the dream coming true. Dr. Saji Asa, senior pediatric cardiologist at Save a Child's Heart, said, having Gerard trained in Israel, come back to Rwanda as the country's first pediatric interventional cardiologist and perform procedures independently, that's exactly what we are working toward. Rwanda faces a severe shortage of pediatric specialists despite having more than 5 million children. Medical experts estimate that up to 85% of children in low-resource settings who are born with heart defects require some form of surgical or catheter-based intervention before the age of 15, making international partnerships critical to expanding access to care, otherwise they may not survive. Founded in Israel, Save a Child's Heart provides life-saving cardiac treatment to children from developing countries regardless of nationality, religion, or background. Yes, people, but you're not going to hear this type of news on mainstream media because they despise Israel. According to the organization, roughly half of the children it treats come from neighboring countries and territories, including, listen to it, West Bank, Gaza, may say, Jordan, Iraq, and Morocco. The same, Gaza and West Bank, where they claim that Israel is committing genocide. I'm telling you, mainstream media demonizes Israel, and now sadly, even America is doing it as well.
Bible quote of the day. Job 19:25-27. A declaration of hope in a living Redeemer and future resurrection. I know that my Redeemer live, and that in the end he will stand on the earth. And after my skin has been destroyed, yet in my flesh I will see God. I myself will see him. With my own eyes, I, and not another. How my heart yearns within me.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's headline news. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.